And I'm back. Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then you wouldn't know that I have been missing for about 2 weeks now. And that's essentially because I was getting a lot of dental surgery-ish stuff done, which is why my mouth was like, I just couldn't like speak. I was in a lot of pain, or like my mouth was like fully swollen and I didn't feel like that would be appropriate to show you because I looked hideous. But I do have a vlog coming up which I've been doing for the past month about the Goodreads thriller thingy, so like look out for that one. But yeah, anyway, today we are here to talk about December and goals. I know we are at the end of the year, and usually at the end of the year, like it's all fun and holidays and all of that stuff, but also it's a awful reminder that we have set goals in the beginning of the year and we may not be close to achieving them. If you have achieved them, amazing, you are a star. However, there are a lot of people who are just not close to it, and if you don't need, like, you don't need to like get to that goal. It's like an arbitrary number that you've probably set in the beginning of the year and you don't have to reach it. But if you are the sort of person who feels like good about themselves, if you've like completed a certain number of books or whatever, and you're a little further behind and you want to catch up with like smaller books, then well, I got you, because I have been where you are, trust me. But I am going to recommend some quality books for you, because I don't want you to go and read like nonsense books, you know, like you don't have time for that. Like, just please spare yourself and read a good quality short book, if that's what you really want to do. Like, yeah, I've done this before where I've just gone and read like nonsense books. Anyway, I'm blabbering now because I haven't been in front of this camera for a long time, and you know, when you're nervous, you just like so yeah, that's what I'm doing. But anyway, let's just get into the books. Before I get into it though, I do want to mention that I have already made a video where I've spoken about Indian translated literature under 200 pages. So you can check that out. I will link that in the cards as well as down below. And I also want to let you know that all the books that I'm going to be mentioning today are under 200 pages, and if I've also like split them according to genre. So if you are interested in a particular genre, then please do like head on to that if that's what you want. But all of these books are awesome and amazing, so like, yeah, just watch the whole thing. But also, if you want any specific recommendation, let me know. I'll be happy to help in the comments. And if you have any recommendations generally to give, then also pop them down in the comments. So let us begin, shall we? And I thought the easiest is graphic novels. Now, a lot of people I have seen over like BookTube discourse believe that graphic novels are not like reading, and I'm sorry, like, please get your head out of your ass, because it is beautiful, it is amazing. It may go by quicker because they're like pictures and stuff like that, but like, oh my god, there's such wonderful storylines, and I am here to recommend some to you. So the number one book series that I would like to recommend to you is the Saga book series by Brian Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This one is just absolutely amazing. It's basically about two different people from different sort of like worlds, but they fall in love with each other and have a child, and both of those worlds are now trying to kill them because they don't feel like this thing of harmony should exist in, I don't know what the situation is, but they're yeah. So we follow them, and we follow their daughter Hazel, and she's essentially like narrating the life, and it's absolutely amazing. I love it so much. It featured in my top 3 of like books last year because I was just so taken by it. So definitely check it out. It's so good. Another graphic novel series that is very different from what I just spoke about is Mouse. This is written by, I'm forgetting his name, but I will pop the book right here so you will know. But this is basically a non-fiction book, which is sort of like a biography of his father who escaped Nazi Germany and Nazi Poland, if I'm not mistaken. I read it a while ago. I'm like, I've forgotten now. But it's very interesting because he's depicted this story and spoken about this story in terms of mice, like a cat and mouse chase, and how they were trying to escape that situation. So it's done in a way where you're like, oh, okay, it doesn't feel like so brutal and harsh, but it also is like a really interesting allegory, and it's just so well done. It's not only about that, but it's also about how the kid is has to like, I don't know, his relationship with his father, now that they've moved to the US and all of that sort of stuff. It's just very, very lovely, and I would definitely recommend. Since we are on the topic of the World War, I thought that I would recommend another graphic novel to you called Displacement, which I read this year. It is by Kiko Hughes, and I read it and absolutely fell in love with it. It's basically about this young girl who goes to San Francisco with her mom to see like where her grandmother grew up, but something happens and she's pulled back into the past, to when the World War happened and the Japanese Americans were put into internment camps because, I don't know, they were just like, oh, we're in a war against Japan, so all the Japanese Americans might be like terrorists, so we gotta like put them together and like put them in prison of sorts just for everyone else's safety. I don't understand the situation, but yeah, that's basically what happened, and she follows the grandmother's journey essentially, by experiencing it herself and gets to see what happened back then, and then she comes back into like regular reality, and like it's just very, very interesting to see what happened during that time, and we're introduced to all of these various things, and we get to see how things weren't like as black and white, and there could have been some grays as well, and I just loved the way that this was done. It was really, really lovely. Would definitely recommend. And then the last graphic novel situation that I need to like recommend to you is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I think I've got them in the right order. This is a book, I can't call it a graphic novel, it's like basically a comic strip sort of thing, and I don't know what it is. It's just so lovely. There's this guy called Charlie Mc something, you'll see his name here, and he's like an artist, and he's basically drawn this whole thing about like these four of these animals, and three animals and one boy, and how they're traveling, and it's like it's kind of it's just, I don't know how to explain it. They just talk about life and like talk about how like hugs are better than cake, and like it's just so, I don't know how to explain it, but it's really, really sweet and very like life affirming messages. I absolutely loved it. My mom has read it at least like 9 times now. My brother's read it like twice, so like it's very, very cute. Read it with your family. It's so nice. Just like a warm hug, you know. So yeah, definitely would recommend that as well. And there we are done with graphic novels. A genre that really works for me is thrillers and mysteries, because I feel like those go by really fast because you kind of want to know what happens in the end. It's like a, oh, you're racing to know the truth sort of situation. So I'm going to recommend some short ones for you. One is a short story collection version, and that is a book that I recently fell in love with. I read it this year and I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And that is An Elderly Lady's Up to No Good. Now this follows like an 80-year-old ish lady whose name is Maud, and she is like single, she's a spinster, and she's just chilling, but she also like hates people. She's like a extreme introvert, and she finds people very annoying, and sometimes she kills them because they get really annoying or they get in her way or whatever. And I think that is amazing. Like, if you are a person who like secretly hates people and like plots their murder in your head, you're not really gonna do it. Like, if you are, then like, never meet me. But like, like you secretly plot it. This one is like so amazing because you see someone actually like doing it in a book. So it's really nice. And she like it's great. I really like it. It's short stories, like little vignettes of her life. And yeah, I just find it like really, really lovely. It is translated from Swedish. Yeah, it's really good. I really like it. It's just good, like fun time pass reads. But I hope you like it too. The second one is another book that I read this year, and I was really taken by. It's essentially a short one, basically following these letters that are being exchanged from this German guy and this Jewish guy who is from Germany but has moved to the US because like Hitler's rise and all of that sort of stuff. But as the letters progress, you can see that things are slightly off, and things are not progressing in a great sort of way. And it's really short, so I don't really want to tell you like what exactly happens. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I just love to see like how things were like steadily becoming like worse, but just through these letters. So yeah, I just really enjoyed that one, and I think that you will really like it too. Another one, which is also in the form of letters, funnily enough, is Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, Taylor Jenkins Reid we all know because of like Daisy Jones and the Sixth, or Malibu Rising, which just came out, or like Evelyn Hugo, which is one of her more favorite books. But Evidence of an Affair is a short book that she has written, and it's basically also written in letters, and it's basically between this wife and a husband, but of different people, and their spouses are having affairs with each other. You get what I mean? And they are basically like, now they find out about it and they start writing each other's letters, and then things progress. And I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but let's just say it's interesting, and the end is like, whoa. So yeah, wait, just read it. It's really good, really short, and I'm sure you'll have a good time. Next, we have the queen of fucked up, or I don't know, she's the queen of modern fucked up, at least is what I want to call her, is Gillian Flynn, who is the author of Gone Girl, Sharp Objects, the entire, like, her bibliography. But she has written this short book called The Grown Up, which is basically about this young girl, not young, she's like a young woman, who is conning someone. I think I've read it a long time ago, but it's really short, and then there's this weird thing with her and the son of the woman she's conning. It's a weird situation, and it's really, really fucked up, but you're just like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's really good. Would definitely suggest that you read it. And yeah, Gillian Flynn just knows how to screw with your mind. But another person who I think is the OG of screwing with your mind is Shirley Jackson. Like, Shirley Jackson, did I read? No, I read last year and like absolutely fell in love with her. But a book that I read last year as well is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Is that what it's called? We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I'm right. Okay. Yeah. So, and this follows basically these two sisters who live in this huge house in this like English village sort of situation. And they're the only two who live there, along with their uncle, who's not like of the best mind space, let's say. And that's because they were having dinner a few years ago, and the entire family died except them. And there are under very suspicious circumstances, and no one knows how, why, etc. It's very interesting, and as things progress, things get steadily worse, as you have seen what this, like, the idea of this genre is. But you'll see, people call this horror, but it's really not. It's just basically the horror of people, which, like, to me, I'm just like, what is more horrific, honestly, than the horror of actual people and their assholery? But anyway, that's what I would suggest for this genre, and we are at the end for thrillers and mysteries. But I thought next we would move on to, what would we move on to? Fantasy perhaps? Because that's another thing that I feel can go by pretty fast, but also I put it here because I really want to recommend these two books to you, which I'm going to talk about next, which are like my favorite reads of this year. Like, oh my god, I love them so much. And the first one is called the, wow, for my favorite reads, I forgot, Empress of Salt and Fortune by Ning Vo. And this is a short novella following this person called Chi, who is a cleric in this fantastical world, maybe like China, I don't quite know. And like, yeah, that's basically the situation. And they go to meet this person who was like kind of like the handmaiden of the ex-empress, who was the Empress of Salt and Fortune, and get to know what like the Empress's story was and what the handmaid's story was and all of that. And like, yeah, basically the person is Rabbit, if I'm not mistaken. That's what the person's name is. It's just lovely the way the story is told, the way that like what you get to know about the Empress and like what she went through and what the other people around her went through, but also the way the story is told is just absolutely amazing. Chi is non-binary. I just loved everything about this. It's just so taut and amazing. I just loved it so much. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. And then the sequel-ish for that, you don't have to like read it like one after the other, but it basically follows the same one character, which is Chi, who's again a cleric going to get stories of people, and they get stuck in this place, and they are sort of kidnapped by these tigers who can shapeshift, and in order to not get eaten, she starts telling the story of this like mythological like tiger, and then what happens is that the other tigers start correcting Chi, and it's really interesting because you get to know about like storytelling and who actually gets to tell the story and what is the right version, and it's just so lovely and like so like, ugh, amazing. I would definitely recommend it. It's just great. Next, for fantasy and like mythology, since we're on that topic, who more to recommend than Madeline Miller? And I'm sure you thought that she'd written just Circe and like Song of Achilles, but no, she's actually written this really short story, and by really I mean like 30-40 pages. So like, it's fine, it still counts though. And it's called Galatea, and it's basically about like this myth of this sculptor who did like such an amazing job with this statue that the gods gave him a boon to bring it to life, and it's about her and just basically then what happened with her life. It's very interesting. I don't want to say much more because it's 30 pages and like I will give everything away. So yes. And then the last one that I would like to recommend is Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. And this one is set in Ghana, if I'm not mistaken, or Nigeria, one of them. And she's from Ghana and it's set in Nigeria, or she's from Nigeria and it's set in Ghana. I don't know. But this book is basically about this young girl called Sankofa. She's actually forgotten her name and she's renamed herself Sankofa, but she walks everywhere because she's supposed to be the daughter of death, because wherever she touches, like whoever she touches dies, and like technology doesn't work around her, and just like it's all of that, but it's also just following her life and who she is and like her on these journeys, and she's trying to reach somewhere and we don't know where, and it's really interesting. I just really liked the way that like she was written and like her dialogues that she has with various people. I just really like that, and just to understand where this all came from, I would definitely suggest the audiobook as well. So like Scribd is your friend with regards to that. But yeah, just A1. Next, we have romance. Now, for romance, I don't really have books that are under 200 pages. I do have a few. I have two, in fact, that I would like to recommend. And the first one is fans only, which is slightly more like erotic and more explicit, so just be aware of that. But it's not, it's honestly, it wasn't as explicit as I thought it would be, so like, you know, just like but it's really interesting. It's basically about like this like woman and a man who have been friends for a while, and they really get on each other's nerves, but like they've been friends forever. But we know those sort of friends, don't we? But yeah, essentially they both want to pay their bills, so they decide to like screw each other on in front of the camera on OnlyFans. Essentially, that's why fans only OnlyFans. So like, it's whatever, it's a take on that. And then like things, maybe they catch feelings. That's essentially it. But what I really liked about this one was just like how like miscommunication just was not the plot. Like it was like they spoke to each other about what they want and like all of that, and I was just like, yes, this is a good like sexual like partnership, because you're like talking about consent and what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and it's just, I was just like, yes, good job. So I really liked it because of that. I thought that it was a fun take. But yeah, that was one. And then the second one, which is completely not explicit, which is very sweet and like cute, is called Only Love. No, what is it called? Wait. It's called Not You Again. Sorry, my bad. And Not You Again is basically about this girl who has not gone on a date or been in a relationship in a really long time. So her three best friends decide to set her up on like these dates, like one after the other, just like in 1 week. She has to go on these dates, 4 dates, I think, yeah. And all of them are disastrous, but she ultimately always bumps into like this one person, and maybe there's something that like goes on there. So it's just like, I really like, it was, you kind of knew where things were going, but it was nice, it was cute, I liked it. It was short, fun, snappy, cute. Also, like it dealt with topics which were really like intense, like grief. So I was like, oh, I was expecting like short, snappy, cute, but it also dealt with some really intense topics, and I think that it did it pretty well. So I was like, plus points for that. So which is why I'm recommending it to you. So okay, those are the only two romances that I know. So we're gonna move on to the literary genre, and for this I'm going to again recommend another book that I read this year and absolutely fell in love with, and I will definitely recommend to everyone. And maybe over 200 pages, but like, holy shit, it's so good. And it is Rita Welinkar by Shanta Gokhale. This is a book that was originally written in Marathi, then translated back to English, like to English from the author herself. And it's essentially about Rita Welinkar, who is like in her late 30s, early 40s. She is the sole earner of her family of sorts. And it's basically talking about her life, and how she has sort of gone through this nervous breakdown of sorts, and she's now in like an institution, and she's like seeing what led up to there, and it's just really lovely. I just loved the way that this was portrayed, just like feminist, yes, and also mental health, which I was like, oh, amazing. So I just loved how this was done. There were lines in this that like I absolutely adored. I just thought that it was so well written as well, after like taking into consideration that like the topics being discussed are like feminism and like mental health. So I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So yeah, would definitely recommend. So good. Available only on Kindle right now. I haven't really seen like the books around, which like it needs to get back into circulation, to be honest. So, and the next book that I want to recommend is A Minor Detail by Adina Shibli. And this is also translated from Arabic, however, to English, and this is a Palestinian book, which I read this year, again, really enjoyed. This one is interesting because it basically follows two timelines, and in the first timeline we are seeing this man who is in like, who's a military person, and who has found this woman, and we see what happens to that woman there. So definite like this thing for sexual assault, rape, murder, all of that sort of stuff, guys, like just be aware. And it's also like very gory in a weird way, but not about like murder, but like about injuries. I don't know how to explain it to you, but like I was like, oh, what's happening? But then the next part, not port, the next part is about this young journalist in Palestine, and how she is trying to, like, she has just uncovered this like case, this rape that has happened, and she's trying to find out more about it, and just I just thought that like it was so interesting to kind of see how a person like lives in Palestine, how like a young reporter, young girl who's a reporter can kind of like live during this time, but also like just the like ways that things were getting mirrored in both timelines were just stunning. I felt like the author did such an amazing job of that. Like if you caught hold of those like things that were getting mirrored, I was like, oh my god, it was so good. Would definitely recommend this book, though it is not for the light-hearted, so yeah, just be aware of that. Another literary book that I enjoyed a lot was Undertow by Janvi Barua, and this is about like 181 pages, and it's essentially about this granddaughter who goes to meet her grandfather, who she's never ever met, because like her mother was estranged from them, and she just wants to like know more about like her mother's side of the family and what happened and all of that sort of stuff. And it's basically about how they reconcile, but we also get to see like what happened during the mother's time and what happened, like, yeah, you just basically get to see that. But I really love this because we got to see Assam for what it is, and like it's just so beautifully described, like the food and the place and this atmosphere was just like chef's kiss. I just really enjoyed it because of that, and would definitely recommend. And then the last book in this literary section that I would like to recommend to you is Jhumpa Lahiri. How would I ever like do a recommendation and not recommend her? So the one that I'm going to recommend to you is actually going to be Interpreter of Maladies, which was her first book that she wrote, and she won the Pulitzer for. It's a collection of short stories, which like hopefully you should be able to like get through them pretty quickly. Like read them on the pot, read them when you're like in between calls. I don't know. Yeah, that's what you can do. That's how I like read. But yeah, these are really great. It talks about like the Indian immigrant experience, but it's just so much more than that. It's so lovely and well done. I love the characters that she sketches through these short stories and the sort of situations that she puts them in. It's just really well done, and would definitely recommend. And in the end, we have non-fiction. And for non-fiction, I would first and foremost like to recommend Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vedmanin. And this book is just super eye-opening. I've recommended this like I think twice before in another recommendation, but like I think that it stands to be recommended again. I don't know. It's just so good. But essentially, it's about Alok Vedmanin, who is non-binary, and talks about like going beyond the gender binary and what it means to be non-binary, or what it means to be like a person who doesn't conform. And it just speaks about their like experience, but also gives you like facts and like if people ever like, if you have questions about it, then it explains it to you. If you are a person who wants to know more, then it gives you more information in just like the most amazing sort of way. Like it's like question answer sort of situation. It's just lovely. It's like 87 pages, and just makes you more aware and more like I don't know, empathetic, and just like you just are generally more aware. You know what I mean? It's good. Just read it. Another one that is pretty short, and is about one of my favorite topics, is which is mental health, is I Have Never Been Unhappier by Shaheen Bhatt. Now Shaheen Bhatt, I again also have recommended this in the previous, I think, my non-fiction recommendation video, both of these, but this one is basically about her mental health and how she dealt with it, and just giving you this brutally honest picture of like what it feels like to have like chronic depression, and since she was a child, and anxiety, and just like all the sort of stuff that she's gone through. It's just so brutal and honest, and it just makes you understand the illness in such a like I don't know, like wonderful way, which is like heartbreaking, but also like so true. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one as well. And then the third book is very different from all that I have just recommended, which are like intense stuff. Which is no, what is it called? What is it called? It's called 84 Charing Cross Road. I was saying 54 for some reason, but it's 84 Charing Cross Road. And this is again these letters that were written by the author Helena Hanff to this bookstore in the UK, in London. And they were basically exchanging these letters in order because she wanted to order books. And but over the years, and I think this is written over like 20-ish, 20, 40, 20 years. Yeah, I think 20 years. They sort of develop like the sort of friendship, and like it's also during a time that's like really intense, which is like the World War and like all of that sort of stuff. So it's just lovely to read their sort of relationship and how it grows over the years, but it's also like talking about books, and like it's just lovely. I also like heard the audiobook, which is weirdly available on what's it called, YouTube. So I'm gonna link that down for you. It was just really well done. It was wonderfully narrated, so would definitely recommend that. And it's just so lovely. I would definitely so good. And then the last book that I would like to recommend to you is Between the World and I. Between the World and Me? Between the World and what is the right way? Between the World and Me. My bad. By Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now this is a non-fiction book that Ta-Nehisi Coates has written basically to his son about being black in the US. And this was written a while back in 2008, I would like to say. I don't know, but it's just so beautifully written and so powerful and amazing. I would definitely recommend the audiobook of this as well. Just listen to him, because it's Ta-Nehisi Coates like narrating it, and just the power in his voice, oh my god, it's just so lovely and so powerful. Like I literally got a chill down my spine just thinking about it right now. So I just think that it is just a wonderfully written book about a topic that is very, very important in the world right now. So yeah, those were the, I don't know how many ever books that I recommended to you, but they're all quality reads, guaranteed by me. Hopefully, if our tastes align, you will like them as well. But yeah, those are all the recommendations that I have. As I said, it would be great if you could pop down some of your recommendations as well in the comment section. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'm sorry I've been gone for so long, but I will be back very, very shortly with a lot of videos, because trust me, this is all I was thinking about when I was like, so yeah, see you in my next video. Bye!